up here, and I welcome him to Freedom House. He didn't even know his way up here, so welcome, Gordon, to Freedom House. Something big must be happening for you to be here today. So thank you very much for being here today. The issue dominating the news for the past several days has been the visit by Nazar Mohammed to the Venezuelan embassy. Minister Todd, in speaking about the matter before the ICJ, outlined to the reporter the steps we are taking to safeguard the sovereignty of our country and how we are pursuing that case diligently through the ICJ. We were extremely pleased that Venezuela decided to respond within the deadline given by the court, and Minister Todd outlined the subsequent steps that will be taken by the court before a final decision is made. We're hoping that once that decision is made, given that Venezuela participated in the process, that the decision would be respected by all parties, including Venezuela, and the matter would be definitively solved, which brings an end to this controversy. That's our expectation. We're not fully convinced that the current rogue regime in Venezuela, although it participated in the process, will respect the outcome of the court, given their track record on this matter. But at least globally, every other country which is bound by a decision of the ICJ would now recognize the validity of the 1899 award. Minister Todd also said that when asked whether he was concerned about other issues, spoke about Nazar Mohammed's visit to the Venezuelan embassy in Guyana. And he did this on the background of several statements made by local individuals as well as highly placed individuals in the United States government. You would recall just some months ago that several congressmen from the United States of America tweeted or issued statements linking the Mohammeds with Venezuela and Maduro. There was a controversy here that we told them to do this, and I addressed that matter, that we cannot tell US congressmen what to do or what to say. That obviously they were privy to information that we did not have, and that is how they work in the US Congress. They get briefings that we do not see from their intelligence agencies. And I would not expect any United States congressman to make a statement like that, linking the Mohammeds directly to Maduro, calling them Maduro's puppet, if they did not have information. So, given that context, given that we have to safeguard or take every step necessary to safeguard the sovereignty of this country against external aggression and against anyone who may try to undermine our sovereignty. Recall the decisions made just recently by the government and explicitly announced by the Chief of Staff that we will arrest and charge anyone in Guyana for treason should that person try to undermine our territorial integrity and sovereignty. We're not joking about this matter. That was an explicit statement made by the Chief of Staff just recently. And everyone, including the media, has been saying we're not doing enough to do public awareness. We're not doing enough in terms of outreach to sensitize people about the border issue. The opposition has been claiming this. So do you think the Minister of Foreign Affairs should ignore, in light of the statements made by these congressmen, ignore any threat or potential threat to our sovereignty or territorial integrity? Because if there is any link between local people who may work to undermine that sovereignty and territorial integrity, he expressed concern about it. Now, shortly thereafter, immediately almost thereafter, Azharuddin Mohammed said, I did not go to the US Embassy, nor did I seek a visa, and that the government is fabricating this. Now, let me tell you a bit about what has been taking place. Nazar Mohammed and Azharuddin Mohammed and a slew of family-owned companies were sanctioned by the United States government in June of 2024. The father, the son, and several companies. Both of them went to Barbados to meet the US prosecutors, and it's rumored, and any sensible person would know that there is only one way or one reason for meeting prosecutors, is to work out a plea bargain. Apparently that did not go well. They claimed they were in Barbados on a vacation. Every single Guyanese knows differently. They will not conform, and the media, the subservient media in Guyana, has not asked them, pressed them hard enough about the trip to Barbados. But we know they went to meet US prosecutors. And it didn't go well. And since then, they've been looking for an exit strategy. And so, when the father visits the Venezuelan embassy, he's a member of this family. Don't tell me that Azharuddin Mohammed doesn't know about it. Or the daughter, the active one on social media, doesn't know about it. They all know that he did visit the embassy, and they know the purpose of the visit. And so, I am today, you notice they've gone silent. Since that information came out, they rushed to put out a statement immediately. I did not go to the Venezuelan embassy. That's what Azharuddin Mohammed said. But since it surfaced that the father went to the embassy, and they have gone silent. So they need now, before I finish this press conference, they can easily come out and put out another statement that they're prone to do all the time, denying that too. That Nazar Mohammed did not visit the embassy and did not seek what they claim was a visa there. They can do that now. Prove me a liar now. In the next 5 minutes, they can put that out. And I'm willing to stake my entire political career on the fact that he did go to the Venezuelan embassy. I'm willing to stake my entire political career because they often say the PPP lies on this matter. So you can disprove us instead of spreading innuendos. And he went there, the whole family knew why he went there. And so when Minister Todd summoned the ambassador, he didn't summon him because an ordinary citizen was going to the U.S. embassy, the Venezuelan embassy. He summoned him in the context of what the U.S. congressman said about this link to Maduro. And the Venezuelan ambassador confirmed that they went there. Well, Nazar Mohammed went there, and that he's seeking a visa. Now, I don't know if that's the only reason why he went there, because the ambassador could tell us this, but there could be other engagements. But the ambassador confirmed that he went to the embassy. You tell me, for any sensible person in Guyana, you think the father who is sanctioned along with the son and a group of companies would not, Azruddin Mohammed would not know that his father went there and wouldn't know the purpose of him going there? You got to really think that we're dumb people in this country. And the trolls that they're using would try to separate that. First, they rush to issue a statement. Well, let him explain what he was doing there. First of all, did he go? And if the answer is yes, tell us what he is doing there. And why would you need, now, weeks before the election, a visa to, if that's the real reason, a visa to Venezuela? And we all know that Venezuela does not allow extradition of people who get citizenship there in that country to the United States of America. And I think this can all be traced back to the Barbados meeting when it didn't go well, which did not go well. So I just wanted to address that matter right at the beginning. And they can put, I heard our Doggy is doing a press conference, a WIN press conference at this time too. They can give Doggy the notes to answer this. Their chief spokesperson. Let him put out a statement. Before I'm done with the press conference, they can put out a statement. Nazar Mohammed never attended, never sought a visa. Jagdeo is a liar, and if that is proven true, my career is done, political career is done. This is smoke screen. This is a smoke screen. I'll come back to this matter a little bit later. I just wanted to give them time so that they can put out their statement early. I wanted to deal a bit with APNU today. So APNU and my friend Norton, he hates this. He spent a lot of time in Linden talking about how he's not my friend. So they took the campaign to Linden, and I thought that the first thing that they would have done is to apologize to Linden for the neglect and broken promises in the 5 years they were in office. Instead, they continue with the same negative campaign, a campaign of lies, spreading fear, and a campaign of racism. And this is all that APNU is doing now. It has nothing else in its arsenal to talk about. So the first lie they told was we planned to remove the electricity subsidy from the people of Linden. This is a lie that worked well in the past. We went into government, we spent a long period in government, 20-odd years, and that subsidy was never removed. And in the past 5 years, we've spent billions of dollars in subsidizing electricity in Linden. We were there in Linden, and we promised the people of that community, Region 10, to continue development in their community. We plan to lower electricity price for the entire country by 50% in the next term. So it's disingenuous to go now and say to the people of Linden that they're going to remove electricity subsidy from you in the next term. It's another lie that Norton went there with. Spreading fears again. He then said that we intend, that we closed, rather, the Charles Rosa Nursing School. The fact of the matter is that in 2018, you had 71 students in that school. In 2019, there were 19 students there. Today, we have 379 students doing the nursing program in that school, and about 200 of them are from Linden. That's the fact. How could you ever trust a man who will go on a platform, a public platform, and lie to the people of Linden, in Linden, telling them that we closed down this school that had 19 students in 2019 and now has 379 students, and 200 of them are from Linden directly. It's unbelievable that someone would do something like that, and where you can easily fact check an issue of that nature. So that was, again, the PPP discriminates against you. The third issue, he said, that PPP favors elite schools and private institutions for their children while neglecting public education. On public education, we now have moved the budget from $53 billion in 2020 to $185 billion per year. We're spending per child over 700,000 Guyana dollars, which is twice as much as tuition fee that you have to pay on average in private institutions. You take 170,000 kids and you take the sum there, 185 billion, take out the sum dedicated to tertiary education, and then divide the remaining amount by about 170,000 public sector children, and that's how you come up with the figure. We're spending more on public education for our children. We've hired about 4,000 new teachers in the 5 years. We have increased teachers' salaries. We now have an arrangement where teachers get paid based on qualification. If they get a first degree, they get a high allowance. A second degree, even more money. And a doctorate, they get a fairly larger sum of money. To encourage our teachers to study. We've trained over 5,000 teachers in the last 5 years. We made university education free. We are now paying for CXC, its subjects, for both in public and private sector. We've given back the Because We Care grant. And this man there to stand on a public platform in Linden and say we're neglecting public education. This is the lie that APNU goes on with. It's spreading fears and racism. Stand on the platform and call people Afro-Guyanese who decided to support the PPP, who have done so based on their assessment of a party that tries to bring people together across race and that has worked for the country, call them fools and all sorts of names, continue to disparage them. That is their entire campaign, APNU, AFC. It's not about, and then they go with these promises, we'll give you $400,000 and wild things they put on their flags. I see 2,500, all crazy things. Nothing of substance except the usual thing. Discrimination, oh, we're killing people. We're discriminating against them, extrajudicial killing. We're neglecting agriculture in Region 10. No, we're expanding agriculture in the intermediate savannas and all of that, the areas. We're giving more support. People in Region 10 have more agri support now than they got under the 5 years of APNU. But he goes there, at their rally, and this is what he says. And that we are all murderers and thieves. That's their rhetoric on their platform. How could any sensible person support this party? And you know, that's all they offer to the people of this country. And then, you know, PPP will get a licking in Linden. Oh, you have to vote for us. Never mind, we don't have a plan for your community. Never mind, we didn't build the Linden-Soestdijk Highway, pave it, although we promised it. Never mind, the PPP is building a 4-lane road, bridge, or several schools and rehabilitate. They would spend $30 million rehabilitating the hospital. Never mind, you didn't give a single house lot, and now we have over 3,000 house lots being developed there and many more in the new term. Never mind all of those things. Never mind people didn't have jobs, but they must vote for you. So that is the message to Linden, but it is the same message across the country. APNU, AFC. Negative all the time. And then, of course, the vile assault against some people who came over. So I wanted, having said that, I just want to go back to what we are doing, because I don't want to get bogged down in the negative campaign of APNU, AFC. So on Monday, we will have a formal presentation of our plans for the 2025-2030 period in office. As you're aware, we have been outlining most of the elements of that plan already. For the past several months, we have been doing this, and we will continue to do this on the campaign trail. When you listen to Irfan Ali speak on a platform, he talks about the future a lot, what will happen in the next 5 years. We talk about delivery on our promises, and we talk about the future. Delivery on our promises to show that we have great credibility, that we, in spite of all the challenges, COVID, taking up 2 years of our term, that we have delivered on our promises to every group of Guyanese across our country. That our people are better off today than they were in 2020. They have more opportunities, they have more jobs, they have better access to health care, they're getting more help in education, they have the possibility of owning their own homes. We talk about that. And then we outline the future. So what you will hear on Monday is just more of a formal presentation of what we've been talking about for several months, because we believe that people should know what is going to happen in the next 5 years, and we did not await a formal presentation to talk about that. So you're going to hear more about the context in which all of these policies will be implemented. We started that, I spoke a bit about it here, but clearly you have to have sensible, sustainable macroeconomic management of the economy to allow you to have the finances necessary to support the promises you're making. And we have outlined what that macro strategy is. The low carbon development strategy speaks of sustainability, but that's buttressed by a strong macroeconomic framework that shows coordination in our fiscal policy, our monetary policy, and things like exchange rate policies, etc. I don't see any even attempt by the other political parties to talk about this. But that is what it takes to really keep an economy sustainable and growing. We, in the first part of our manifesto, our plans for the future, you're going to see a strong emphasis on growth, supporting growth, job creation, and opportunities. And what are the policies we're going to put in place to support the creation of more jobs, getting more investments in place, getting people to start small businesses, getting more, what are the appropriate policies we're going to, or the enabling policies we're going to put in place. We believe you have to start with that, because we need a diversified economy, not to rely only on oil and gas. We have laid out the growth poles that we want to support already, from mining to agriculture, to tourism, to logistics support, ICT development, a whole range of industries that will create the jobs of the future. Now you will see what are the enabling policies and initiatives that we will put in place to support those industries, because we believe Guyanese must invest more of their money. They need to start businesses and on their own, and if they do so, they can create the objective, which is what we want, of a diversified economy, but at the same time generate thousands of good paying jobs and income for themselves. And so that's the first point. No other political party has been focusing on this issue. They all talk about, oh, we'll give you $2,500, like you see some APNU flags here, 400,000, they put 400,000 on the flags. That's all they talk about, sharing some money out. Nothing about creation of wealth at the individual household, a company level, and a national level, and then generating jobs for people in a diversified setting. So a lot of that will be there, and you will see how everyone will benefit, from fishermen, farmers, public servants, the public sector workers, the miners, all of that. You will see, again, a major emphasis on the social sectors. Education, world-class education, and supporting all of the initiatives to give our people education. We believe that makes a huge difference. From the guy who never finished our school, we have to get him to do something. We have to get him studying again academically or being trained, equipped with a skill, right down to those who want to study at the highest level, and it must all be free. It must all be free. Our children would be supported. Apart from there would be an increase in the Because We Care grant, there'd be a transportation grant, so families will get more money directly from the government. We will do school feeding programs, so when our kids go to school, they can then get a good meal there. We'll continue to pay for exams and support tuition. We're going to use AI to strengthen the way we deliver the curriculum. Our teachers would be better trained, better paid. That's what we're working on, because we believe all of our people must get the best quality education in the world, and we want to invest the money in that. Healthcare, you've seen what we're doing. The 12 hospitals, but all of the other hospitals, Bartica, Linden, those where we're not building as yet, would be upgraded or new ones built. West Demerara. Georgetown Hospital will be, once we move out the maternal and children's section, will be upgraded. We have a new hospital there. Everywhere in the country, quality of service at the tertiary level and in preventative medicine, getting the specialists, training our people. That would be important. Social, we want to give among the best quality care to our people. Housing, we've made it clear that we want to eliminate the backlog. There was a huge backlog because APNU did nothing. We built 50 or developed 50,000 house lots. That helped with the backlog. By the end of the next term, we want to clear the backlog so that everybody can get a plot of land that they apply for. They'll get help in building homes directly. They'll get help in upgrading homes. We'll keep mortgages low. We will continue to build tens of thousands of core homes and young professional homes, but we have to award contracts differently now, not with 50 houses, but 1,000. You know, because so many people are waiting for that now. You know, they want their homes built by the government, and then they go and get a mortgage, etc. We have had a lot of people applying for the young professional homes or the core homes. We want to focus now on building. So whilst we're giving, the last term was spent largely on preparing plots of land. We spent $300 billion on that. We have to continue doing that for the ones to clear the backlog, but we want to focus heavily on building in this term, helping people to build their homes. We've made that clear, simple. That's what we're talking about. So you're going to see a lot of these in the manifesto, the plan that we'd unveil in a formal sense, which we've already been talking about. You know, pensioners, you will see an increase. The president already mentioned that the pensioners, apart from the increased pension, will now get a transportation grant, like the children would get too. Public assistance will go up significantly. Wages and salaries, every sector, as I said before, will get some support. We want to work with NGOs, the religious communities, community issues. Again, if you go to any community in this country, anyone, the biggest concerns, people are parking on their big trucks on our parapet. We have already said the next term, across the country, we're going to build these commercial parking lots, so you can't be parking your heavy-duty equipment in the communities anymore and be disruptive. That the polluting in industries, like if you have a spray shop, etc., we'll work with you to get a plot of land elsewhere in an industrial/commercial estate close to the village or the town in which you live, so you can conduct your business there. Street lights, security cameras, all of that, concrete drains. So that is it. We're going back to the concerns of the people now. These are the key things we're hearing. And this will, the Amerindian communities too, every one of them will also, because the issues might be slightly different there, but we have a whole plan laid out for those communities. So we're going to go back, keep focusing on what we're going to do in the next term. We're not going to be talking every day about like the negatives. We don't even spend our time too much now criticizing APNU and AFC and the others, because the people of the country see that they have no capacity to implement anything. They have no plan and no capacity to implement it. They have none of them, including wind. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about how we bring our people together. We want to bring across race, that everyone feels that they're part of the change in this country that's happening, and they benefit from the change. Every single family and every single person. That is what. I don't want to get lost in the negatives, because in responding to their negatives, sometimes you can get lost in that too. I wanted to just bring back those issues to the people. So I'm going to come to come back a little bit to some of the negatives now. So we saw human rights report came out, and it was reported in, I think, in Dennis Shabra, yeah, U.S. Human Rights Report notes press freedom issues in Guyana. So, the beginning of the report, there has been no significant changes in the human rights situation in Guyana during the year. Significant human rights issues included credible reports of arbitrary or unlawful killings. The government took credible steps to identify and punish officials who committed human rights abuses. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of the report. So it says, the government took credible steps to identify and punish officials who committed human rights abuses. Great report, I think. It showed that. It then speaks about freedom of press. I think that is what Dennis was referring to. The Constitution provided for freedom of expression, including for members of the press and other media, and the government generally respected this right. Independent news media were active and expressed a variety of views. Some members of media reported they faced discrimination and hostile personal verbal attacks in response to public inquiries. The ruling party monopolized its own media. So, we know who the some members of the media who reported they faced discrimination and hostile personal attacks. It's a couple of people. But generally, the government respected the right, and you have a diverse view of opinions being expressed in the country. Members of the media reported the government leveraged access to state advertising funds to censor indirectly independent media outlets. So listen to this. Members of the media reported the government leveraged access to state advertising funds to censor indirectly independent media outlets. So, if anyone is discriminated against in terms of advertisements now, it would be the huge online media. Because Starbuck News reported this some time ago. You recall early, and I suspect they're the ones who filed the complaint. And I came right here and said, I gave these figures. In 2024, Guyana Chronicle got $206 million worth of advertisements. Kaichur News, $202 million. Starbuck News, $169 million. And Guyana Times, $157 million. So the state, if you're looking at it, the state-owned media only got $4 million more in ads than Kaichur News. And Kaichur News has been probably one of our most hostile newspapers to the government, where this is not accurate. It's the Starbuck News trying to play a victim, but they got a substantial sum of money in ads, 169. Where is the discrimination in the ads being given out? It's absolutely untrue. Now, what I've been saying here, and I've been saying to DPI, is that sometimes these newspapers, when you advertise in them, you get less viewership on the ads than many online outfits because they have a bigger reach. And we should change our ad policy to start advertising or splitting this money so that they get some of the advertising budget. And it's substantial. It's close, it's over $500 million, nearly $600 million. Well, no, it's much more. This is about $800 million nearly, when you look at all the advertisements. These 4 papers alone have 2, 4, 5, 6, nearly $700 million, these 4 papers. Some of that, that's per year, some of that should go to all of the online media houses because they have better viewership. So I've said that here, and I've been asking DPI, but the moment we start doing that, you're going to hear another outcry, oh, the government is not giving us enough ads, as though there's an obligation of the government to advertise with these news entities, and if they don't get the ad, it's an act of discrimination. The government has to leverage the money and to make sure that we get the best return for the money. And look at the United States. This is a US report. President Trump cut the budget for the Public Broadcast Corporation. But cut the budget there. So I don't understand this gripe about this matter. Now, what was interesting is that I saw Travis Chase now says, as the United States 2024 country report on human rights practices highlights that several members of the media in Guyana reported that they faced discrimination and hostile personal verbal attacks. 10 ministers of the PPP civic government, including Vice President Bharrat Jagdeo, have threatened to sue me. I don't know if I did, but could be. because they are viewed as corrupt, etc. And so, saying that this is an act of discrimination because somehow the PPP or some people aligned to the PPP threatened to sue him, and hiding behind the US report about members of the media being subjected to personal attacks. So I said already who those people are. But Travis Chase is not a journalist. You know, President Trump has spoken about fake news. So not because you claim you're media, that means you're media. So who Travis Chase is a gun for hire. Now this is a person with a criminal past who is now hiding as a member of the media, but he works for people to do a hatchet job on the others. And you recall recently he had a default judgment against him. So he posted stuff about Ed Ahmad. Ed Ahmad sued him. He couldn't even defend the case, didn't file a defense, and the court ruled or gave a default judgment, and now he's going to face a massive penalty that he'd have to pay. So he comes out with these outrageous things, no doubt hired by people, including businessmen, for a purpose, for character assassination against others. That's not, you can't hide behind being a member of the media or a journalist. You're not a journalist. So, if you're so sure about your content, then by all means publish them. But when it's false and people go to the courts now and get redress, don't claim, oh, I'm being discriminated against. Look, they're taking me to court. That's what he's claiming now. He's being discriminated against, or it's a personal attack on him. No, they're using the court to seek redress against your lies, because you publish lies every day. And you work for people, and we already know who these are, the people who are. So, hiding behind this US report as though you're a victim of some government conspiracy, well, you're not even a member of the media. I don't call you a journalist. That's not journalism. That is making up stories every day based on who pays you. That is what's going on. And there are several others who've been doing this. As you've seen recently, you know, there are a spate of recordings, etc., emerging. And what's emerging is a very dirty, incestuous circle, as you have seen, by several people who run down each other, but are paid by several individuals, businessmen, wealthy businessmen. And let me say that the Sheriff News Network doesn't reflect the views of the PPP. I made it clear here, or I'm here from Sheriff News Agency. He doesn't speak on behalf of the PPP. I make it clear here. I, as General Secretary, speak and reflect the views of this party and the leadership of the party when they speak. We don't need an individual, but he gets caught up between the personal fight between he and between Azruddin Mohammed, who he has a relationship with, and what is revealed in all these personal recordings, what comes out clearly is that people, some businessmen are paying people, these individuals, their guns for hire, some of them abroad and some here, and to do character assassination against others who may be in a different political camp. It's interesting, one, Azruddin Mohammed is paying legal fees for people and all of that sort of thing, transferring money into the United States of America. My Rickford Burke just said, no doubt after the Venezuelan issue came out with the Mohammeds, he now said, he just posted today that I was giving away the Essequibo to Venezuela. So I think he's hoping that the judgment he has against him, which will result in him losing his home and him returning back to the basement, that the Mohammeds would pay for him, send up the money to settle the judgment. So no doubt he is linked to that camp again, hoping that they will pay off his mortgage. Another one we have seen has a gambling debt. Doggy himself released that, a gambling debt, and he's hoping the Mohammeds would pay off his gambling debt. So this is what's going on here. All of this dirty stuff that's going on, vile stuff. Look at what they did to Irfan Ali's mother. It is the most reprehensible, disgusting thing that could ever be done to a person who has more integrity in her shadow than all of these people who are saying vile things about her. I know Irfan's mom and dad. They've been in the education sector for all their lives. All their lives, they've lived modestly, or continue to live modestly, all their lives, training generations of Guyanese, making a difference in their lives. Some of devout Muslim people who act every day with integrity, and to bring them into disrepute here, being paid for by the Team Mohammed, just to bring them into disrepute based on rumors, is a disgusting thing. And only people like those in that camp, in the Win camp, could think of something so reprehensible. And it's all set up. Travis Chase organized all of this, no doubt on the instruction of the Mohammeds, and then leaked it just to disparage. And I think it was done cleverly to come out now. Disgusting. And if the country doesn't see this, that these people are paid, and they themselves admitted in the conversations where they're taping each other who's receiving money from whom. Imagine the Mohammeds sending money up into the United States of America after they are sanctioned and can't do any transaction with the United States of America. It's all sanction busting. And to disparage people here. But you know what? It reflects, we talk about media. If we had solid reporters in this country, there are few people who have tried. I've seen a number of people who, at least when they go to some functions, ask tough questions. But do you think a person like Azruddin Mohammed could have run for the presidency in the United States of America without the media camping out in front of his home? in the United States of America and asking him questions directly, questions that he has been avoiding. So we know now that he hides from the media. The only attempt that a few persons, Gordon, Dennis, and a few others, in front of the Umanayana, when he came out, when they asked some tough questions of him, and you saw the true nature of the person. He couldn't even answer about his policy. He avoided the tough questions. In fact, he refused to answer the tough questions. And then his controllers, the minders, stepped in to cover up for him. He went to his own press conference. They invited only selective members of the media. And even those members of the media, he couldn't get full access to him. As Dennis pointed out, that he ran away in spite of them promising that he will speak at the press conference extensively, answer other questions. He went away and then he gave interview to handpick people. The Starbuck News, with all of its pretense at journalism and high standard journalism, don't ask any tough questions. Just imagine a Trinidadian reporter came to Guyana and went in the interior to catch him, because he hides by going into the interior a lot, to the unsuspecting villages where they don't get media coverage. But where are the reporters in Guyana that camp out, when they camp out and ask him, what did your father go to the Venezuelan embassy to do? What about what did you do in Barbados? Did you meet with a U.S. prosecutor? What was the outcome about the gold smuggling? He avoids that. About what has now emerged about link to paper short murder, about the torture of the 3 men that he did some time back, reported in the same Starbuck News. Where are the journalists here? You think in any part of the world where they have real journalists, that they would really get away with this? At this stage, and they cover up. They just cover up all of this sort of stuff. They just gave, a wonderful story. He went there, he claimed, 100 people came to my meeting. It's full. He brings people from all over the place and goes and takes a picture of them. Photoshop pictures from Linden. Doesn't have to be accountable for any one of this. Then he gets Doggy to host a press conference. He has another, Odessa Primus is his chief policy maker. The Mark France, plagued with all sorts of trouble. How could you get away with that sort of thing anywhere in the world if you don't have a compliant media? I know the state media can't go there and the journalists there because they tried to bully them, like Cordell went one time to do that, exactly that, across the river. And when he went to a meeting, and they were hostile to him, they were bullying him. So that's what is happening now. A person who could be a threat to our sovereignty and territorial integrity gets a free pass because a lot of these so-called journalists are anti-PPP. This is not about PPP. When we talk about Venezuelan or sovereignty, I don't care about PPP or PNC here. Anyone who threatens our sovereignty by working with Venezuela, we made it clear what will happen. We're not going to give you a free pass on that matter. And so I've seen all of this. They ignore everything. Just imagine another place where you know where he is going. Camp out there and ask him the tough questions. in front of his house. You would have had the US media or media in anywhere in the world build a little camp outside his home so he could answer questions. He is the only candidate who's running for the presidency who has not hosted a press conference before. Imagine a man running for presidency. You can put the future, you will have to put the future of your children in his hands if you vote for him, and who has not even been clear on basic matters. They don't know if he is capable of even answering basic questions. Where is the scrutiny? And so when I hear about press freedom, they run down the PPP because Jagdeo spoke a bit hostile to them. Oh, but every day they talk about post-cabinet press conferences. Those are small issues. You have access to us, you can ask us anything. People ask us anything they wish. And they don't see this big elephant that's staring there, that's running for the presidency of the country, that has all of these pending allegations that pose a threat to our country. They don't even seek to go out and do it. Why? Because somehow they believe that he will harm the PPP chances of winning the elections. But who you're putting at risk? Not the PPP. You're putting your family at risk by supporting this. And that's why they go to these communities and they pay people to fool others. And the fooling is, oh, it's the PPP that sanctioned me. It is the PPP that took away your bank account. It's the PPP now lying about we didn't go to the US Embassy. It's another lie. And they get away with it because the mainstream media also doesn't say anything about it. Not a single thing. The Starbuck News especially, they love to think that they're the conscience of Guyana, and they're the deeply patriotic one. And you bet if something comes on Venezuela, they will lecture the government about it. All day long about it. So we have to see what's playing out here. And I don't know how those teachers that Coretta McDonald and all of the others, because I believe the union collected money from him when the strike took place. That was almost clear, you recall that. And she's telling some of the teachers, I heard that, that they must be supportive of him. That's what was told to me. But I wouldn't put it past her. I haven't verified it as yet, but I wouldn't put it past her because they were deeply linked to him in the period when, you remember she said, oh, we'll get the money to pay the teachers who don't go to work, strike relief. So some of them, but I can't imagine a teacher telling anybody to vote for him, and a 10th grade, a student doing this, not even CSEC, grade 10 exam, would do a better job at reading a document than he would. How could you, with clear conscience, tell anybody to vote for a man like that? Who, to be president of the country when you're in the education sector? This is what is going on. So I see a lot of those people. Now it's coming out, the ones who are being paid now, the trolls as well as the so-called influencers. The Travis Chase and the Rickford Burke and the others are part of this camp. So that supports the Mohammed, that would spread rumors about what's going on. I see APNU about the PPP wants to rig the election, the usual stuff. PPP trying to rig the elections and stuff like that. And they issued a press statement saying that taking a photo in the polling place. So APNU put back they repeated the law in their statement. that the following violations of the law carries fines of up to $65,000 if you take a picture in the polling place, and imprisonment of up to 2 years. 1, directly or indirectly inducing an elector to display his or her ballot after he or she has marked it. They might have had things with Mohammed's trying to do that, the Mohammeds. Displaying your marked ballot paper for others to see. 3, unduly influencing an elector by, for example, threats or bribing an elector, money, gift, and other valuables to vote or not to vote. 4, accepting such bribes, in other words, selling your vote. And 5, voters impersonation. These are all offenses in the law. If you collect money to vote or not to vote, or you pay people money, vote or not to vote. And I think APNU may have heard quite a bit, and they put that out. The problem, and they want cell phones banned from the polling places. The issue is, I think the legal people, and they said PPP will do this. We've never done that. We don't need to pay people to vote for us. And I want to remind people they're accurate about the law. And the only issue about whether people can take a cell phone in or not is if they refuse to not lodge their cell phone and you prevent them from voting. You remember the Esther Pereira matter. Then it could form part of a constitutional challenge to the elections. But clearly, whether you have your cell phone with you or not, you cannot take a picture in the polling place. And that's quite clear, as everyone have made. And so all the polling agents, APNU's polling agents, PP polling agents, whatever, and the presiding officers have to ensure that that's not done. And they should prominently display the law, what it is, and I think GCOM should do more voters' education on this matter. So I saw them, I think they're expressing a fear on the basis of what they've been hearing. And because, you know, win already, we've seen Scott them paying people to go to their meetings, much less to vote. I saw the Starbuck News, political parties and the cost of living. And Starbuck then goes back, you know, the usual stuff. They did 139 consecutive weeks, they asked people about cost of living, all about food prices. And you recall what I said at that time. I said there are about 6 areas that drive up cost of living for families. That after COVID, factories around the world were shut down, production stopped in many parts of the world, the cost of freight to ship a container, say from China to Guyana, went up from $3,000 to $20,000. Then you subsequently had a war between Ukraine and Russia that is still ongoing, and the price of oil went up globally. These 2 factors led to increases here in Guyana in food items. But what did this government do? We then said, we are now going to, the 6 areas are electricity, where water, internet bill, transportation costs, mortgages, those who had mortgages, and food prices. And we intervened by subsidizing GPL rates so that there were no increase in the cost of living in relation to electricity from 2020 to 2025. There's been no increase in the water rate from 2020 to 2025. We subsidized now by removing the taxes, the 50% tax on gasoline and diesel. We are giving a 560 Guyana dollars subsidy for every gallon of gas or diesel that you buy now, resulting in us having the lowest gasoline and diesel price in the Caribbean, including lower than Trinidad and Tobago. But didn't go up there too. In internet, the bandwidth cost came down significantly because we liberalized telecommunications. On mortgages, mortgage rates came down. Food prices went up a bit in certain areas. So food prices were challenged with. But 5 of the 6 areas that push up cost of living, we dealt with. We also started helping with lower UG fees. No UG fees now. No, you're not going to pay for your CXC and you know, its subjects. So we're taking away some costs from families that they would have had to bear in the past. We return free water to the pensioners. We return an electricity subsidy to the pensioners. So that's how we dealt a lot with those issues. Now, on food prices, I gave the example. Cassava price now is lower than what it was in 2020. Although, when they look at the same time series that was published by the government, the marketing corporation, you see the prices. But what's the true situation with cassava? Cassava went from 3 million pounds production to 20 million pounds in Region 3. Paprika, the farmers get $40 per pound. By the time it reaches Breed and Hoop Market, it's $120 a pound. People buy in supermarkets with drive-up margins and stuff like that. So clearly we said we have to tackle that again in the future. So only because of the nature of this government we have tackled this. Now, the same people who are talking about this, I think today, look at April 28, 2005. A quarter of US consumers are now financing groceries with buy now, pay later as economic pressures mount, survey says. So a quarter of US consumers are financing groceries with buy now and pay later, basically on a loan. And in the US, one of the reasons why President Trump won is because he pointed out that mortgage rates went up, mortgage rates in Guyana came up, the price of gasoline went up, utility bills went up, all of these things. In Guyana's case, as a small country, smaller economy, we still kept all of those things in check. That is what we did for cost of living. So they would never ask that question. The Starbuck News surveys don't go and say, but you know your electricity prices didn't move for the 5 years, or your water bill, and government is subsidizing every gallon of gasoline you buy now, resulting in the lower price for gas. And you know, mortgages rate came down, and you know, they liberalized telecommunications, so your bill there too is lower. Would never ask that. Oh, the cassava price, they're at cassava price all the time, and we acknowledge that. So this is the public servants. On the other hand, disposable income for public servants went up by 120 billion a year. So they can spend more money on groceries, like they're spending also on importing vehicles, not just public servants, but everyone. 40,000 vehicles more per year coming in to the country. 40,000 vehicles more per year. And with lower taxes in the next term, I don't know what will happen, because we're going to lower taxes on vehicle, lower income taxes, all of these things which we plan to do. So this is the only party that actually did something when we were confronted with a problem. We didn't expect COVID. We came into office with plans to change the country right away, and we did, in spite of COVID. In spite of COVID. We changed it, and anybody who can see it now would see the momentum, and it's only going to grow in the next 5 years. So I just wanted to address that issue too. Look at Starbucks. They took at all the manifesto promises and say PPP failed on one of its manifesto promises, reopening sugar estates, right? So we showed out, the article is not a bad one, but the headline is terrible. And it just says, we rehired 4,000 sugar workers of the 7,000. We're building an industrial estate in Enmore now that would absorb more labor there than we had at the sugar estate. The 400 people who were working there at the estate and more can now be absorbed in that industrial estate and the other developments around Enmore. But not just for Enmore, it will be for people from Golden Grove, Napaklis, Victoria, the Fowles, Buxton, Annandale, all of these areas will get jobs there. That's just about completed. We spend a lot of money, and the factories are going to go there. We're building a 4-lane going in to the factory now, the industrial estate. That will be changed here. At Wales, we had nothing to reopen. They gave away the land, sold out the houses, they sold out the factory as scrap metal. How could you reopen there? At Rose Hall, we reopened, and workers were there. And now at Skeldon, we are looking to diversify. But we kept our commitment to the sugar workers. We paid them the $250,000 we promised on top of the severance. We made sure they got the severance. The sugar workers got a 5% increase. Well, every one of the 5 years, they got a salary increase. On the APNU, every one of the 5 years, they got 0. So you're looking at, they say, we failed on one promise here. It's not true we failed on it. And APNU failed on every promise. And they're contesting against us, but they don't write a word about that. The failure of APNU, lack of credibility. This is the sort of thing every day that we are faced with. So I'm going to end here. Let me see, I think I maybe have some. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Vishani Raghavar from the newsroom. Sorry. My first question is just a bit of clarity on the announcement about the tax removals on sanitary products. The announcement was made in Bath, but I saw some posts subsequently stating that the taxes were removed since about 2017. So could you perhaps provide some clarity on that?
It's VAT-free now, from what I understand, but there's still the common external tariff. So we're going to remove the common external tariff. So when people say taxes, there's a tariff and then there is the VAT. So it may be VAT-free, and I saw some people saying that, but it's not tariff-free. And the tariff is a common external tariff, so to remove that, you have to notify CARICOM about that. So we plan to remove that too, on all sanitary products, and not just for women, but pensioners who use these and children. Not just for female, but it's also pensioners and children. So things like even the diapers and stuff like that, you now have to remove the common external tariff, although we have removed the VAT on it. Already, the VAT has already been removed.
One other thing from me on the Venezuelan embassy visit situation. Mr. Mohammed, Azruddin Mohammed has denied visiting the embassy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do you have the evidence to show that he has in fact visited the embassy, one? And for Mr. Nazar, is he going to be called in for questioning about why he visited the embassy or anything like that?
So the minister mentioned the Mohammeds. It was Nazar Mohammed. That's what I'm saying right now, that Nazar Mohammed, there is strong evidence that he visited. That's why I spoke right at the beginning that this is a family. The first criticism of the PPP was a statement by the father just before they launched their campaign. Azruddin Mohammed and his father went to Barbados to meet the U.S. prosecutors. They obviously know what took place there. He's not been interrogated by the media once about that meeting. Not been interrogated by the media once. Everything that the father does, don't tell me that the son doesn't know, or the daughter, or the family. So him going to the embassy at this time, for I don't know what reason, the ambassador said he applied for a visa. They can help to clarify that. What visa is he seeking to go on a vacation now to Venezuela, or what other visa? The family can clarify that. The ambassador said that, but could be for other things too. So there's strong evidence of him going. But my point was, if you're so quick with the denial about Azruddin, why not now publish the denial today and post it on Team Mohammed that it's not true? Nazar Mohammed never went to the embassy, and it's another PPP lie. Or alternatively, say, yes, he went there, but he went there to take a vacation, to get a visa to have a vacation in Venezuela, of all places. So that's why I'm saying, I'm giving them a chance now to deny this too. And this is a family enterprise. You see it heavily. The whole campaign is a family enterprise. The sister, the brother-in-law, everybody. This is a family enterprise. So they're going to work on semantics. I did not go. So who could in their right mind tell me that the day he went there, the sister didn't know, or the father? And in fact, the sister, I think, was saying, oh, why can't Guyanese go? Although they issued a denial, why can't Guyanese go to the Venezuelan embassy? So I think she knows what she's talking about. So let them issue the denial that Nazar Mohammed never went there, or if he did go, tell us what he went there for. Given that the United States senators said that the Mohammeds are Maduro's puppets, and that they work closely with them. And now we're hearing through some of these leaked things that there may have been generals, Venezuelan generals, who were involved with smuggling sanctioned gold through Guyana. That's an even further link. That is very dangerous one. So I just gave them, did they put out the statement by now? Or gave Doggy? I was hoping that Doggy could deal with that. Imagine Doggy is hosting the WIN press conference. This is a mockery of our electoral process, a mockery, the comedy that they're engaged in. And it's because of the level of journalism. Who in this country? I can't imagine this happening anywhere else. But, you have political aligned journalists in this country. And news entities that will never try to expose this. Next thing is, I think that at some stage that should be done. We're only a couple of weeks away from elections, maybe after, but they can, maybe after the elections. Next thing, you question him now, and they're going to say, for me personally, this is a serious matter. This is our territorial integrity and sovereignty at stake. Why would people want to go for a Venezuelan visa at this time? And from what I heard, it's not one visit. But there's evidence of the visit. But it's not one. So could it be that there are discussions there about something that we don't know? Given, and why would anyone, if something comes out from Hakeem Jeffries or some other US congressman, everybody runs with it here. All of the state media and everything else. Okay. So Doggy just said they cut off the lights. As soon as the lights back on, I will be up and running with my press conference. Stay tuned. Doggy, you don't have a generator? Today I heard that, like, I thought the same thing here. Because 1 week I'm here, they told me rat ran in and tripped the feeder, right on my press conference day. Then that was long before Doggy came on. Then the next week it's an excavator. Earlier today, what was the excuse? They told me the lightning was flashing early. You know, so this is GPL. So that's, I guess they had to shut down. Not to answer this question, they're shutting down and they're going to come up with some lie later today. So yes, what point I was making? I was making a point, yes. So if Clark issues a statement from Brooklyn, everybody runs with it. Why? But when the U.S. and treats it as credible, and I have no doubt it's credible coming from the U.S. congressmen, how come when the U.S. congressmen say, given their briefing, that there's a direct link between the Mohammeds and Maduro, nobody wants to believe that? Or not nobody, some people don't want to believe it. In that context, this is serious. And obviously, maybe they knew of this connection long before us, and we did not get all of this information. That's why they got it, and they've been able to be so explicit with it. Now we have discovered it.
Gordon Mosley,
Yes,
News Source, Guyana. Mr. Jagdeo, sir, picking you up on the GPL issue, as we're meeting here, I think there was a blackout for a couple of hours.
Yes.
Yeah, and as you mentioned yourself, there were a few.
They told me lightning now struck, and they had a trip.
Concerned, sir, about value for money, because the government over the past couple of years has been investing heavily in GPL.
I agree.
So are you concerned about value for money? And in terms of the current GPL management, if your party is to take the reins of government after September 1 again, do you see yourself working with the current management moving forward?
So first of all, we have to strengthen management there at GPL. With the massive plans for transformation, I don't think the current management can lead that process, that they can address all of the issues. And our plans are massive to have a stable grid, smart grid, by the time we get around to the next elections. We have already, the gas to energy would come on stream. That will bring 300 megawatts into the system. We have to complete maybe another 300 megawatts. We'll try to we'll resume tender for the hydro. We're building now this massive grid to go to Berbice on those steel towers. The same thing will happen all the way to Linden and to Parika. We're putting in major systems on the Essequibo coast. And then in the feeders right across the country. So that's the transmission main. We have to do a lot of work on making, these are lots of old lines and old transformers. We'd have to replace all of those, build circuit systems, etc., so that we can have stable power. When you have one feeder tripping, it don't shut down the whole system, that it would be, you have redundancies. So that's one. So we have to get firms to supervise the projects to make sure we get good quality work, we get value for money. We also have to get value for money from the management. And so I see the management being strengthened enormously as another important task. It would be stupid of us to go to put in all of this investment and not strengthen the management and the capability of GPL to manage the process. The control center that we are building now at Eccles will be able to see in the grid right across the country where you have blackout. You don't need people to call in. They see that immediately, they can dispatch people. That's a major control center that's being built now. So I agree with you. I'm tired of the excuses too. Every day I call them. Tired, sometimes I just don't find the excuses funny. That combined with they had to, in cases, also deliberately give people blackout because of the construction program that I spoke of earlier. Like on the railway embankment, you have to, the transmission mains have to be moved off and the distribution mains to build the roadway. And we have some of that on the East Bank and some other parts. So that is sometimes deliberate. People say to me, it's sabotage. Now, a lot of our supporters say, why is it all these things happening just before the election? It could be sabotage by some people. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. System is now, you have a lot more demand on the system, but definitely what you're saying is accurate. You can't go keep the same management for a company that would be look differently, very different.
Regards to that consultancy contract with InterEnergy of the Dominican Republic, the company that won the procurement bid for that contract, they issued a release this week saying they were never informed that they had won the bid. How do you think that should be addressed, sir? And earlier this week, there was that leaked interview released with a prominent gold dealer, Junior Bashk. And in that interview, he spoke about persons connected, allegedly, to your government, yourself, the president, talking about who was number one and you being number two in terms of accepting payments for contracts. And so how do you directly respond to those statements? Were you involved in any such transactions with Mr. Jagmohan, allegedly, or any of the other persons named in that recording?
So first of all, the Baksh issued a statement on that matter. And he made it clear that he was told about this issue, that some people in government were accepting bribes by an individual who owed him money. He subsequently said he apologized to the president and he apologized to the president's mother. He didn't need to apologize to me because apparently in the interview, they asked him if he knows me and he heard about me and he said no. He did not need to apologize to me because he didn't say anything about me. So that's a part that you brought in, Gordon. So you just brought in that bit where asking me about whether I'm linked to Tamesh Jagmohan. Even in the interview that Travis Chase was trying to get him to say that is Jagdeo involved in this? He said, I don't know Jagdeo.
Number two.
Yes, but
in the
did
interview.
Right, so did he...
In the line of questions
right,
with
yes,
regards
exactly.
to that.
So clearly, that is the bit you are bringing in now. It's a clever way of bringing in it. He never accused me of taking a bribe. He never said that the guy told him that I took a bribe. He never said that Tamesh Jagmohan gave me a bribe. He said nothing of the sort. He does not know about that. They didn't speak about me. So that's your bit now.
He being collected for number one and number two. And I think in the interview, he was asked who is number one, who is number two.
So
he mentioned you as being number two.
No. Clearly, all of that I saw. So we can clarify that. But if we clarify it, when he was pressed by this one about number two to Travis Chase, obviously he went there with speaker's notes from the Mohammeds, trying to get him to malign the president and the president's family. He did not. We can clarify it, and then I hope you will, if it turns out that way, what I'm saying is accurate, that you will put a note in your news source that I was wrong. That's one. So we'll come back to that. Now, clearly, it has no credibility whatsoever. This is like anybody getting up one day and saying, I was told by Mr. X, like one of the reporters here, that Gordon Mosley takes money from the Mohammeds. So the person does an interview saying, I was told by reporter X that Gordon Mosley takes money from the Mohammeds. No, I know. I'm not saying right.
Clear,
No,
because you might have your people out there.
You see how sensitive you are to third-party accusations? This was a third-party accusation. You see how sensitive you are? Oh, you don't take money from the Mohammeds. But this was a third party. Azim Bash, being steered by Travis Chase, said, I was told by a man named Sano that the reason he can't pay me back, and this is money that Azim Bash owes to the Mohammeds, that he can't pay me back because he's connected to the president and he has to give the president mom some money. That's what he said Sano told him. He then said Sano told him also that he will get contracts, etc., and when he gets the contract, he will give him back his money. He didn't say, Azim Bash then issued a statement saying, I never paid the president's mom any money, nor the president, nor anyone else. This is what Sano told me. So that's the point I'm making. So third party, obviously Travis Chase and the others were steering him to do that, to malign the president and his mom. So I just gave a hypothetical. Assuming Cordell said he heard that Gordon Mosley is collecting money from the Mohammeds. And he does an interview like now with someone, and he says this. You just said, I didn't do that. That's a third-party information. Then Cordell comes out and put out an information. That I don't know this about Gordon. I heard it from a third party. That is what it's all about. But I'm shocked about how you will bring up rumors of this sort of thing, but you wouldn't bring up the same group that released this interview. The individual said in another interview that the Mohammeds have been paying for her legal fees, and the Mohammeds told them to release the interview. The Mohammed told her to release the interview. That is how this interview was released. It was done quietly by Travis Chase, as this guy said, as Mbash said, I'm suing Travis Chase. I did this because Sano owe me money, and this is what he told me. Travis Chase obviously collaborated with the Mohammeds. The Mohammeds then told the individual, release this now. How come all of that angle doesn't come in this story? So let me make it clear at this stage. The man who did the interview said clearly, I've never paid the president or anyone else any money. 2, I never paid the president's mom any money. This is what I heard somebody say. That should be the end of the matter, because there's no evidence whatsoever that any money was paid. This is just another rumor that is being perpetrated by the Mohammeds to muddy the water so people don't look at their dirty dealings. And that is why when they released it at this time. That's why they released it at this time. Gordon, you're a seasoned reporter. You should have known about all of this. How come the interview was released? Now there are tapes too that spoke about how the interview was released, linking Mohammed to the release. That angle should have come over. And 2, You should have known that the guy issued a statement saying, I never did any of this sort of thing. I never paid anyone a bribe. I was told about this. It's a rumor. I just pointed out a rumor, and you made it clear you're not collecting, and I know you may not, or else you wouldn't have asked him the tough question in front.
You know me long enough to know I don't do
Yes.
that. And sir, but are you concerned when you see those exchanges and even the denials? In those denials, these are billionaire businessmen talking about borrowing 700
Because
million.
they are stupid people, and they're related. So Amir he's made it clear, Azruddin is his father-in-law. Amir said he is married to Azruddin's stepdaughter. They made it clear. How come that angle is not being looked at? You see the bitterness between these people. It has nothing to do with PPP. The man has made it clear. He goes on his program, talks about it all the time, about the connection he has to Azruddin Mohammed, through the family link. These are people who would engage in all of that, but it shows you the dirtiness. Is this the guy who fabricates all of this evidence, or fabricates all of these stories to cause us to turn a blind eye to the real story? And the real story is that this is a criminal who is sanctioned by the United States of America, who's running for the presidency of Guyana, and who poses a threat to our sovereignty. That is the story. This is all smokescreen. Smokescreen in 2 weeks before the elections, so that you don't focus on who the real Mohammed is. It's smokescreen. And he engineered the release of it. Clearly it was taped with a view to do that, to bring down the president, because the president is our candidate. So you get Travis Chase to conduct this interview, and look at the steering questions. He's steering the guy all the time to badmouth the president or his family, or Minister Vikram Bharat.
Whether you're concerned when you look at the releases between the parties about borrowing 700 million, are you concerned about
whom, man? I didn't see that one.
Yes, Sano. You said Sano. You spoke about Sano. Sano issued a release.
No. These are private businessmen.
No, but are you concerned about the amount of money they're passing around each other? $700 million as loans.
Exactly.
So how concerned are you about that?
So no, it's no secret that Azim Bash, Win office in Madhya is in the Bash family building, now in Madhya. As we speak now, you go there, you see the Win office in Madhya is in a building owned by the Bash. What more connection? Mr. Bash has made it clear he's indebted to the Mohammeds. Then he lends money he said he lent money to this other guy. That's what it's clearly, it is a problem, and I hope the FIU is looking at all of these things. But this is business between these people. That has nothing to do with the People's Progressive Party or anyone in our camp. And so this is the story. All week long, they were at this now because we're 2 weeks away, muddy the waters so we don't focus back on who this guy is. His ineptitude, not just ineptitude, what is it? His incompetence. You can't even be competent. I can't find a word to describe a man who can't go to his own press conference and read a script. To a press conference and read a script and stay and answer 2 questions even. And running for the presidency of Guyana. Running for the presidency. You know, look at it historically. From Burnham, this is the tradition we've had. From Burnham, Chetty Jagan, Janet Jagan, Samuel Hines, Jagdeo Ramatar, Irfan Ali. Every president, Granger, even Granger, although he preferred other interviews, would never hide from a press conference and is capable of hosting a press conference. Just answering two basic questions. Can't answer it. Can't explain nothing, even what's written in his manifesto. They look shocked when they hear the reporter ask about their own things in their manifesto. Obviously, they didn't read it. Who has caused all of his candidates now to lose their bank accounts because he lies to them. He tells them, oh, it's the PPP. Not that they pose a risk, he's posing a risk to them. And let me say something about this. You know how many people in Berbice yesterday, I saw a note from one of their candidates in Line Path saying, I never signed up any document. And somebody sent me a statement from the guy, I did not sign to be a candidate. We've had about 3 or 4 cases from Berbice alone. We have had cases from all over the country. People who have lost their accounts say, we want to disassociate with this man. Amerindians who have come here who have lost their accounts say, we don't want anything to do with him. We didn't know. They came and lied to us, told us we could get help. He'd build a house for us. He lied to us. And that's why we put down our names there. And now we're subjected to all of this. Now we see the true nature. People just want to distance themselves everywhere. So, yes, go on.
Yes, sir. Turning to the elections now, I know you said GCOM should do more voter education on that issue that was raised. There are a lot of offshore oil workers who are writing into media houses and asking questions about how they'll be able to vote, if they'll get time off. And there doesn't appear to be a clear message going out to many of them out there. Is that something you intend to raise with GCOM at a party level?
I don't know what GCOM's views on this matter are, but I can ask the commissioners to look into it and give you feedback on it.
Sir, there appears to be a heavy movement to many of the indigenous communities by most of the parties contesting these elections. I know the PPP has been moving into many of those communities. We've seen the APNU and now WIN too. Can the PPP win an election without the support of those indigenous communities? And do you think that may be a reason, whether they can win or not, why you're seeing this flurry of movement into those communities?
So I think the reason, as Rudin Mohammed, it goes to these areas, one is that he believes that those communities don't have access to the media the same way that many coastal people have. So he could go and lie to people there, pay a few people to lie, about the sanctions and all of these things, and he gets away with it. 2, he goes there to avoid scrutiny because he would not campaign like here so heavily because he'd run into the media, and then he would have to answer uncomfortable questions. The third thing is that when you look at the votes, for example, in Region 9, in the last elections, the PPP got 57% of the votes in Region 9. That meant 43% of the votes went to other people. So a lot of them now from APNU, or some people from APNU may go to WIN, and I saw Norton he said something very strange. I think I have it here. So some might go to WIN because of their lies, and a lot have come to the PPP. So you've seen Norton go to Comaka in Mabaruma. He was there with Jureta Finance. And if you don't have the picture, I'll share with you the picture. He was alone talking to himself. Now, that's Mabaruma. That used to have a big pocket of APNU support in the past. So it doesn't mean the 57%. We didn't win 99% of Region 9 so that any vote that goes to another party will come at the expense of the PPP. We won 57% of the votes there in the last elections. We're hoping to increase that percentage there. So APNU supporters, people are not going to support APNU. So some of them are coming to PP, some may go to WIN, and some may stay with APNU. So we have looked at the numbers right across the country, but of course, we campaign hard in every area, and we're very competitive. We're a competitive party. We take our message everywhere. We go to the Amerindian communities, we go to the Indo-Guyanese communities, we go to mixed communities, we go to Afro-Guyanese communities, we go everywhere. We're everywhere campaigning. So it's not unusual for us to be campaigning everywhere. But people have to look at those numbers. So wherever you go, for example, if you go to, I don't want to give more examples, I just gave you one example. So this is what Norton said. Mr. Norton flagged the concern Saturday night during an address at a public meeting in Ithaca, West Coast, Bobby. I hold no brief for Mohammed. I hold no brief for Mohammed because he's more in our constituency than any other one. So I guess the impression sometimes he's working for the PPP. Now, they have been setting up, the WIN people set up the APNU tent for their meeting in Queenstown, but he claiming they're working with us. But I'm watching. I'm not commenting yet. He's watching now. We're 2 weeks away from the elections. He's still watching. He's not commenting as yet. 2 weeks away from the elections, he's still watching Norton. So he clearly doesn't want to criticize the Mohammeds. I don't know for what reason, whether they're helping to fund APNU or whatever reason. But I believe there is some collaboration.
Substantive question, sir. Can the PPP win these elections without the overwhelming support of the indigenous communities?
We believe we can win the elections based on the support and win the elections with a bigger majority than 2020, with a significantly bigger majority than 2020, with the support of the Amerindians, the Indo-Guyanese, the mixed people, and Afro-Guyanese. And we're going to do that. We're going to win the elections with a major increase on what we had in 2020. I'm not going to say we have to get 100% of Amerindian votes to win the elections, because we never got it in 2020. I just pointed out. And look, we have retained our support in the Amerindian communities. We went to Matakai, we had a huge meeting there, and to Moruca, big meeting, and to Mabruma sub-district. This weekend we're going to Region 9. So I don't know what the question is. Which party has the greatest chance of winning these elections based on what you see? Which party has the greatest chance? That should be the question of winning the elections. And it's going to be the unequivocal answer from everyone, including their supporters, would be the PPP. We've seen Afro-Guyanese now campaigning in every community who are members of this party. They feel they're home with in this party. Now, it's growing enormously. What about that? Why not ask me about that? It is a huge number of our activists and people who are supporting us in these communities, because they believe that their children's future would be safe in the hands of a party that's trying to bring Guyana together.
And finally from me, sir, and following up on Vashani's question with regards to the Elder Mohammed and the reported visit to the Venezuelan embassy. It's months now since that tweet from the US congressman linking the younger Mohammed to the Venezuelan president, the Mohammeds, to the Venezuelan regime, and now you're raising concern about this visit to the embassy by the father. And your party and the government has been clear on how it sees persons engaging in whatever issues tied to Venezuela. So why hasn't the party, or the government, why hasn't the government or the police moved to raise questions with regards to this, since you're so concerned about the sovereignty and all of that about the country?
the latest information, video information that's available showed the last visit. The last visit which took place just a few weeks ago, I think. So that is why it is surfacing now. Recall, I said that when a US congressman says something, they're privy to more information than we have. The information has now come to light from that last visit that there is, first of all, a visit. There may have been several visits before, and when someone, the Venezuelan ambassador, confirmed the visit and also said they're applying for a visa. So now that is newly emerged evidence of this visit. And so, going back to the earlier question, whether he should get consistent with the policy of questioning people who threaten sovereignty of our country, whether he should be questioned now, I'd leave that up to the police and the army. We're in election season, so you have to be a bit sensitive about it. But that doesn't mean that they get off freely. They need to answer now, which I'm hoping they will do. That if, like they did right away when the report came out that Ashru didn't go, they have to say, the father went, he didn't tell them that he went there, which would be stretching our imagination. And two, why he went there. They need to tell us.
But is this just cheap political rhetoric?
No, it's not. It's only cheap political rhetoric when we say it. When they lie, it's not cheap political rhetoric. Let's move on now, Gordon. You're excusing this issue. This is a serious matter. Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. It's not. It's not. It is a serious matter. It's a serious matter. If you think it's not serious when a US congressman tweets something or issues a statement, then you should never ever again reflect what any US person says. And when because the US did not share at that time, that's what I was telling you. They have more information available to them when they make these statements, and they would share with us. Now we have the evidence of it, evidence of a formal engagement between the parties. This is an answer that we don't believe, which is they went there to apply for a visa.
But did you request the information from the US after that tweet?
That's the security forces are dealing with that matter. So I can't deal with that. But I already made it clear that the US congressmen had more information than we have when they made that statement. They clearly knew something was going on. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo. Committee Slow, Starbrook News. Coming back to the elections, given the current elections climate, what would happen should we see a hung parliament from September 1st?
I'm not dealing with hypotheticals now, because that is almost conditioning thing. PPP will win the elections. We're winning outright these elections. So I'm not dealing with hypotheticals now. What happens if there's a hung parliament? Who's going to win or get 33 seats? APNU or Azruddin Mohammed?
Your party is not in any way worried about...
No, we're not, and it's not arrogance. We've seen the numbers on the ground. We have seen it in our polls. We have seen we've done the testing, and we are on track to win the elections outright.
All right, sir. A follow-up question as it relates to the Ambrinians as well. With the Ambrinian votes, are you in any way worried now that you see these other parties, or especially WIN, going there, getting a crowd? Are you in any way, or the party in any way
First of all,
worried?
you're not getting crowds. There are people who go there, like in Berbice River. This is the enabling by the media. They can't find Mohammed to ask him any question, the questions about his criminality, etc. But they enable, he gets crowds. So when he goes, he has a motorcade up the Berbice River, picks up 5 people, 10 people from every community, takes them to one spot, they take a picture, then they go to another community, take another spot, picture there. The same crowd follows him around. He photoshops the crowd. That is clearly evidence. We have a picture of him. The same people you see here, like the massive crowd he had in Linden, he photoshopped it. You saw one face recurring 3 times on the same poster. We enable him. And that's what he's been doing, because on his Team Mohammed page, they block anyone who can point this out, or on the Essecubo is ours. And by the way, you saw when the story came out, many Venezuelan trolls came on to criticize. And that Essecubo is ours, which was linked to him, is, I believe, a ton of Venezuelans also helped in that regard. Essecubo is ours, they set up a Facebook page to support him. So if you go to those, they block you, but they put up a picture, massive crowd here again. And the media in this country, if they were to only call the residents in the area and say, were those people from your community? And people would say no. Like Lima Sands, they went into Lima Sands, took a picture there. Lima Sands supports us now. 7 residents from Lima Sands were there. They brought people from charity, from everywhere else, on the naming all over, and in bus loads. It's a touring. They went to Line Path. You had about 6 persons from Line Path there. The same thing. People from all the villages went there, and their candidates took a picture. They had about 30, 40 people there, and they took pictures. This is the sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying they will not get any vote, but I'm saying that this is enabling. And when you look at the Amerindian vote too, like, what do you expect? That you expect the PPP to win? To win these elections, we have to get every vote? We have to get, if, as I was saying, if you have 500,000 voters turn out, to win the elections, you just need to get 251,000. That leaves 249,000 persons who can vote for other political parties, and you still win the elections. So the 249,000 can still vote for the other parties, and you win the elections. And the turnout, the last elections are 460-something thousand. So I assume, say 500,000 voters. So we must account for every one of the 249,000 other voters too.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo. Michael Rodriguez for Daybreak News. In a past time, SOCU was very efficient, so efficient that it would have taken Cabinet Secretary Dr. Raja Launchan in a wheelchair within moments to investigate him and to bring charges against different PPP cabinet members. Are you worried about SOCU today, given an interview was recently given where an individual accepted he participated in gold smuggling to the tune of billions of Guyana dollars, obviously contributing to his assets, and SOCU has not made a move as yet? Are you worried about SOCU?
I think these matters have to be investigated. I think they would be investigated, but we're 2 weeks away from the elections, and the other party likes to play the victim and enabled by some mainstream media. The moment that they're linked to anything, even criminality, they've downplayed torture, murder, trafficking in persons, gold smuggling, accusation of money laundering and cocaine smuggling for this candidate. The whole media here in Guyana, the whole media, and the so-called independent media and journalists, everything, they've downplayed that. Next thing is going to be, oh, he's a victim now. So I think the state agencies have to put things on pause until after the elections, and then thoroughly investigate these claims and the charges, and then and if they find them credible, lay charges. That's the position now.
Given what you've just said, Dr. Jagdeo, is your party concerned? The landscape, the media landscape in Guyana, no matter who they are, have their biases. Some people are supportive, or if you just speak the truth, it seems that you're supportive of the government.
Yeah.
Is your party worried that certain media entities have generally been bought out, and to some extent that can affect the outcome of the elections, or some of the, so to say, the voters who haven't decided where they're going as yet? Do you think the media entities that have been bought out?
Clearly, there are individuals who have been collecting money from the Mohammeds to lie to people. They're campaigning in the communities, offering lots of things. Two, some of them are propagating all day. They're online, propagating falsehoods about the PPP and basically misdirecting any criticism that goes to him. You have some news entities who may or may not receive money from him, but a lot of them, they are anti-PPP, so they think that by giving him a free pass and enabling him, that somehow they're harming the People's Progressive Party. That is what. And also, if he is, you heard the same logic, or if he is going after the PPP strongholds in the Amerindian areas, maybe by some miracle that he would help APNU cross the threshold and you would have a hung parliament. I think they hope that that's what happen, and they give him a free pass. The people who are the ones exposing this corruption and the illegalities are really the true heroes of this country, not those so-called journalists who just tiptoeing around the issue, or news entities. They're the real heroes of the country, because they, in any part, if this guy succeeds, our country suffers. If he succeeds, our country suffers, everyone. And they're the real ones who are exposing him. So history will judge us differently. Let's see on which side they want to stand.
Jagdeo, these are very tense times, and people tend to try to antagonize different party members, try to antagonize all party members. T. Mohammed's, one of their candidates, Brian McIntosh, I don't know if you addressed it recently, was seen in a video with a machete threatening a councillor and
yeah, but I don't want to
minister.
get, critic, I don't want to get into these individuals. Just imagine this party really doesn't respect anybody in this country. If you put a Brian Max as one of your candidates, if you have Doggy as your chief spokesperson, if you have Odessa Primus as your general secretary, you have Mark France now with all of the things he've done. These are the people that we're talking about. Azruddin himself, dysfunctional. These are the people who you can think about who may have to, if they succeed, would have to run a government in the future. This is not unusual what Max is doing. They just picked up everybody. We've looked at Harbhajan in Region 6. waste. We looked at the list from Region 1, several people who were armed robberies, a whole range of things. I don't even want to go back to the list of candidates. That is what they have there. You tell me who could run a government on that side. You're going to give Brian Max, what would he be? Doggy will be the minister of what? I don't know.
My real concern
Beating
was
up women,
people's safety.
Minister
Have you
beating up
expressed
women?
concerns to the Guyana Police Force to be
Yeah,
more
well,
vigilant
we
on
can't be.
people's
The
safety?
police force has to do what it should do. If this man threatens somebody with a cutlass, they do it every day. They have to now go and do what they have to do. The report has to be filed, the police have to do it. I can't be running down the police all day I got other responsibilities too. But I'm just telling you about the people who are associated with this party. And they don't say a word of condemnation. They have not issued a word of condemnation. When Doggy beat up this woman brutally, they gave a fake statement or they disassociate themselves from it. And next week we saw Doggy again hosting their press conference. This is what we're talking about. You're going to put the future of the country in the hands of these people, assuming they didn't have all this sanction and all the connection with Venezuela and everything else. You just couldn't. This is a dysfunctional group of people who are trying to, making a joke out of the electoral process.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo.
Yeah,
Sheriff from Belgrade with Kaishar. Just have two questions. One, Exxon has announced that it will operate all future projects or the FPSO above the nameplate capacity, meaning that they will pump more. Although they have not submitted any proposal to the government, will the government allow them to do this? And is there anything that Guyanese should be concerned of in terms of safety and so forth?
So the first question is that even where they're operating above the stated capacity, that the environmental impact studies that they did assess those projects for higher levels of protection, higher levels of production. They had to apply for permission. The EPA studied those issues, and then we got technical advice from abroad. And only then they were given permission to operate at higher than rated capacity. So we were assured that it's safe and that it would be technically feasible without compromising the safety of the project. So I expect that every future project that they operate, and if they want to go beyond the capacity, the rated capacity, they have to follow that process. First of all, the EIA must have completed or be submitted originally for a higher capacity beyond the rated capacity, that's production beyond the rated capacity, and two, it has to be studied by the technical agencies before they're given permission. So that's our approach.
Yeah, and if I may just add a follow-up, by them operating above nameplate capacity, definitely they will be pumping more, and it will, empty out the reserves a little bit faster than projected.
But you know our position on that matter too, that if we can accelerate production with it being safe from the same level of investment, then it also brings greater revenue for us, not just from the increased production, but the greater efficiency of the operation of the FPSO. Because from the same investment, which has to be paid back from cost oil, you're getting higher levels of output.
Second question, despite protests by civil society against the commissioner, Mr. Ramson Sr., for his reluctance to release information that not only civil society is asking for, but even reporters. I know the last time he said the president will have to examine it, but to date there has been no move from the government, and it's now been presumed
clearly in our manifesto you're going to see something about that too. We've made it clear that more information has to be publicly available. We have done so in the oil and gas sector by publishing all of the agreements signed, all of the environmental permits. We are publishing now the production schedules and the production and other metrics regularly based on what we get there. So if you go to the site, we have released all of the large contracts that in mining and forestry, we put that online. We are now online with all of the contracts that were issued above 15 million by MPTA. We clearly have to provide through that office, we have to strengthen that law and provide more information. I can say that now.
That he might be squatting because he's not doing his job by releasing.
Well, no, but as I said before, the president will examine this, but the job, based on that commitment we made, the job doesn't belong to an individual, but we'd have to examine that. Yes, go on.
Yes, sir. I've seen complaints on social media, and I've received a few calls myself, about persons saying they've been receiving calls, random calls to their mobile phones, with persons encouraging them to vote for your party. And some of those persons have also said then they would be questioned about the cash grant, whether they've picked it up as yet or so. Could you say whether your party is using data from the cash grant to contact people on their cell phones?
No. But most people, there's a register. We have a lot of information and submitted by our activists when they go around the country. We have a lot of information that when we go around the country, we pick up information, people's numbers. It's canvassing. We canvass online too. We as a party, we canvass people. It's a routine thing. It happens around the world. You call people and say, you know, the government has done all of these things in 5 years. We're looking forward to your support. Can you give us your support in the elections? We value people's support. We're going to work for their support. We convince them, right? So if the person doesn't want to talk to you, they hang up. Or they say, don't call me. So it's canvassing online is something that's done, or through telephones, it's done routinely around the world. The Democrats do it, the Republicans do it, everybody does this.
Gerald Bryan, NCN News. Circling back to the question about crowd support during campaigning, you addressed Win. What about your other political competitors, for instance, APNU in the city, Orange Walk, and so on?
The thing is that's what I'm saying, that at least APNU doesn't manufacture the thing and put a big headline. What APNU will do is they will just show you the speaker. They wouldn't show you the crowd. So they've been doing a lot of that where they have poor turnout, they show you the speaker. And they go and they don't show the crowd at all because they have poor turnout in many parts of the country. The other group will Photoshop. They will go even for routine meetings. They fetch people and then they mislead. And you can't go and comment on their pages because they block you to point out. So if a person was at a meeting and to point out, I was there, right? Or from the area, and that's not the real crowd, it's people from outside. They'll quickly delete the comment or block you on their pages. So it's a bit different.
Another question. News emerged today that the U.S. was deploying its Navy to the Southern Caribbean to tackle Latin American drug trafficking and so on. What are your thoughts on this and its effect on regional security?
But the U.S. has made it clear that anyone involved in drug trafficking or as a threat, that they see drug trafficking as a threat to the United States of America, that anyone involved in it would face serious consequences. And they've made it clear, President Trump on his campaign trail, that he's going to do all that it takes to stop drugs flowing into the United States of America. He has had discussions with Canada, with Mexico, even threatened additional tariff in response to the fentanyl going into the United States of America. So I don't see anything unusual in them deploying assets in the region to prevent drug traffickers from getting into the United States of America. In fact, we welcome it because we work in collaboration with them to stop this.
What are your impressions on the other findings in the human rights report, for instance, on justice, migrants, the justice
I just
system?
wanted, as I saw it as a good report. It's a fairly decent report, so I don't see the need to comment on every section of it. So, and if you look at past reports, it's been a major improvement on past reports.
Okay. My final question is on gas, oil and gas. Are there any updates on the Phoenix Park gas processing plant, the proposal that had been submitted in June and to Guyana? And we have
Phoenix Park, which is the Phoenix
from
Park?
Trinidad. The new government had announced that it submitted a proposal for a gas processing plant.
I have not seen it. I have not seen that. Maybe it's with Vikram Bharrat.
Okay.
I have not seen any proposal.
Okay, and we have two relatively new governments in Trinidad and Suriname. How are talks progressing when it comes to gas and energy collaboration?
So I spent quite a bit of time when Kaichur asked me this question about the state, how I see the monetization of gas project working in the future. I laid out where we are at this time, the tripartite discussions we're having. I said no project has been approved as yet. We're exploring the feasibility of doing so, monetizing the gas. I pointed out that there are several options that are being studied, and so the final project may have that either reflect one of those outcomes or a combination of all of the outcomes. And what are these? One is to use the gas in a floating LNG platform for export. Two, to bring it onshore for an industrial complex, petrochemical industrial complex. Three, to bring it onshore for generation of power to supply Brazil, to sell power into Brazil, could be very lucrative. And four, should exploring the option of taking the gas maybe to Trinidad too. Those, because since they had expressed a desire. So all of those have to be studied. They have, and then whichever use is the most feasible, most lucrative, I think the investors are going to agree to that. Could be a combination of one of the end use or one or two of the end uses. So that's where we are now. We'd return to that in earnest as soon as we get past these elections. So we can do that because that will bring significant job opportunities for our people and more money to the treasury and also to many individuals in Guyana to start small businesses associated with that. So that's where we are now. We had some initial discussion with Suriname on this. They've identified a gas field close to Guyana. And we have two fields that are you have more gas than oil in, that currently export has identified. So there could be potential collaboration, cross-border collaboration with Suriname in this project. That's where we are now, but we've put all of that on hold until after the elections, then you can resume it. If you look at the other parties, none of them talk about gas and all of these projects and stuff. They're just busy negatives. This is serious business. This is changing the country so we can become much wealthier at the individual level and at the country level, and we are already examining it in great detail. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, Kaichur here has another question. I don't want you to say I'm running away here. The next thing, that's the headline. Jagdeo flees media like Azruddin Mohammed.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo, and
Yes,
Williams,
sir.
Kaiser News. Sir, we've noticed, I know recently you said that the government was addressing the currency issue, but with U.S. currency with injecting into the banks. But recently we've received reports that persons are still having issues getting the currency, and also the price keeps going up. Last week it was 229, now it is 233 to 1. Can you say, or give us an update of how government is looking to address this issue,
Yeah.
since it's having such an effect on not just businesses, but prices will also rise for certain things?
So first of all, we established that the demand has grown. And for consumer goods, because our people are consuming better, they're consuming more now as they get wealthier. If you imagine not just consumer goods, like that goes to the supermarkets and everything here, but also vehicles. If you have to finance 40,000 vehicles coming in per year, you need more foreign currency. Then more are investing, lots of small business, so they have to buy the capital equipment. So the demand has grown significantly from the past. We have been supplying quite a bit of foreign currency, selling money into the markets, to the banks. So we are committed to continuing that process. The problem is sometimes the people, it's the currency. Because there are two things. Money transfers it would be easier in the future. But it's the cash currency, because some people hoard that. So if you go and try to buy cash, then the price will be higher, because yes, there's a shortage. But remember, we can't be bringing in thousands of US dollars or millions of US dollars. We have to work with the US government too to get that cash money down into the system. We're hoping people would use more of the financial tools like credit cards, debit cards, where the settlements are done, not using cash. Credit cards, debit cards, paying into people's bank account directly. They transfer money through bank orders, etc. So we're looking at it carefully, and we can assure the public that we will continue to inject large sums of money into the banking system because it's available, but we don't want the money to be siphoned off to go to meet Trinidad demand. And that is what's happening. A bit of that is happening now. We don't want it to be done that way or to be hoarded. And then some people are buying up the currency and then selling to people from Trinidad at a little higher rate. So they're making an arbitrage now because those people in Trinidad are desperate to get the business community their foreign currency. They can't get, they have to wait some like eight months and all of that. So we will continue to look into it. A lot of people were talking about the Dutch disease and the money appreciating. We're managing that too. Okay, there's one other person, yes. So.
Hi, sir. Following up back on elections, I know you said that you're confident, the party is confident about winning the election, but hypothetically speaking, should the election results not go your party's way?
Yeah,
are
but
you prepared to accept?
You asked that question and I answered it already. That would be the whole, my fear is not fear. I know where that is coming from. So there'd be an old speculation now surrounding, Jagdeo says that if the elections don't go their way, etc. It is another way of spreading uncertainty. We have done our numbers. We have done the work on the ground. We're campaigning everywhere. We have seen the enthusiasm and the support. We believe that the elections are going to be won by the PPP with a greater majority than in 2020 when we had all of these things stacked against us when we were in opposition. I'm not going to deal with that hypothetical now. When the elections are over, your hypothetical will go away, or we'll address it then, if it's real. I'm not going to deal with hypotheticals now.